The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we trust you to be present with us when we are unable to be present with others. We know that you join us in our quiet hours and in our own lonely places. Walk with us in these days of Lent, in these days where we separate ourselves from one another, that your peace and your joy with us might be felt. Amen. So there is an expression that I'll get to in a minute that is new to us, but it's interesting to me when we look at the cycle of readings that we get. This was a much longer gospel text than we often have on a Sunday morning, but it's a very familiar story to us. And one of the things that's always interesting to me with the 3-year cycle of readings that we have is how each set of readings land on our ears at a different time and in a different place and in a different context. Right now, it is impossible to imagine a different context from where we are right now. And sometimes the lectionary is not kind to us, and we get a set of readings and we're like, what in the world does this have to do with anything that we're dealing with right now? But I want to talk about that phrase that's now in our vocabulary, social distancing. The gospel text for today is about social distancing. When we read the text that we have for today, we see a story of a woman who is doing all the wrong things to keep social distance from the rest of her community. Now, if you've been shopping in the last week, you know that it's difficult to keep social distance at times. You might be thinking to yourself, well, if I go first thing in the morning, then perhaps I will see that it might be empty. If you could head back, thank you. But there are times in which when we look at the readings that we have and they fit hand in glove with today. So this woman, she shows up at the well at noon. Why? It's the heat of the day. Why in the world would you go at noon? And you probably need water in the morning anyway, right? The normal thing would be to show up while it was still cool in the morning. Gather your water jugs, go, fill, and return to your home when the water is needed. It would be an opportunity to share news with the other women in the community. This point of gathering at a certain point in time to see how your neighbor is doing. Perhaps you might bump into relatives in that place, so on and so forth. But there are times in our lives when perhaps we don't want to be close to one another. Now, today, we have all kinds of reasons for that, very carefully keeping our distance. In the story that we have this morning, though, this woman is living a life that has caused questions for her neighbors. She doesn't want to go to the well when everyone else is there. Now, we have fears in this day and age. We're worried about what we might catch from others. And to me, it's kind of interesting. What if we were to lay that same construct on this reading in regards to the woman today? Perhaps she is fearful if she goes to the well that she might catch something from others. What might she catch? Judgment, perhaps? Hatred, perhaps? Tough looks? Unfriendliness? Would she be given space at the well, or would she be boxed out? Would it be another day of not getting water and perhaps being judged by everyone around? What might she catch if she were to go to the well? It seems to me that there's two things for us to ponder during this week from today's reading. The first one is, what are we giving to others? When people who are keeping their distance because of all kinds of reasons, and not just now during the coronavirus concerns, but when we get back to some semblance of normalcy, when people bump into us, what are they going to catch from us? Are they going to catch judgment? Are they going to catch unfriendliness? Or are they going to catch welcome and openness and acceptance? What are we going to be sharing with the community around us? The other thing that I think that would be good for us to consider during this season and with this reading is to understand all of the reasons why people might keep social distance. Perhaps there is a family member that is disabled for whom it is awkward to be in public. Perhaps they are sick in a way that makes it difficult to be around others. Certainly in this time and place, we want to keep our distance as it is, but there are all kinds of reasons why we might see houses and households and individuals go without social contact, keeping their distance just as a regular course of being, because of all kinds of painful personal issues that they might be wrestling with. How might we break through that distance? Perhaps in this season of physical separation, we might learn new tools for being engaged and creating community with those around us who are keeping distant. But also perhaps we will bring back some old tools for keeping in touch. Are we writing letters? Or these things we carry in our pockets where we can speak to each other? It's a crazy concept, but maybe something that we could do. How do we engage with one another and maintain community so that we aren't just simply a million people accidentally living in close proximity, but rather are genuinely people that we connect with, people that we watch out for, people that we close the distance socially, even if it means still in the short run that we don't close the distance physically. I would encourage you in this season, as we kind of switch gears to the public service announcement, to keep informed in this season. Be mindful of what the school district is asking you to do in regards to your children, or asking them not to do in regards to your children. Stay up to speed in regards to the health department's encouragements. Check our website often so that you might see resources to help sustain you. And in the week to come, we're hopeful as well for ways in which you can help others who might be particularly challenged in this season of social distancing. We're just on the front end of this. There will be a lot of awkwardness and learning, but we need to be doing this together as community, even if it's not together physically. Amen.